how's it going? I'm super excited for today's project. We're working on the flower bed directly beneath our pine trees. You might remember last spring I planted all of these gorgeous autumn frost hostas. They start right here. We kind of stopped, it looks abruptly, because we are going to be putting a pathway in right here at some point. And then they curve all the way around the pine trees and kind of curve and stop on the back side of the flower bed. And then we back planted the whole area with dipped in wine coleus, and they did so great. They grew about this tall, filled in the area beautifully. It really was a sight. But I'm wanting to transition quite a number of my annual planting areas to more permanent plantings. So there's a couple things I wanted to talk about today. First of all, some really good options of plants to put in shady to part shade areas. And then also I want to talk about how you can pick out plants that look good all season long based on their foliage. Not relying so much on blooms to make your area look amazing, but relying rather on the structure of the leaves and the plants and the way the colors marry and play together. I think it's a really fun thing to do in your flower beds, and that way they look amazing the whole year long. So I want to start with my tallest layer first. Now this is a Bloodgood Japanese maple, hardy down to zone 5, and that's the zone I garden in. We're zone 5 high desert. We have to, because we're high desert, put our Japanese maples in areas that don't receive really strong afternoon sun, otherwise they tend to scorch. So this area will be perfect because you can see behind me it's kind of open. The morning sun comes right through this area and really, I mean, it pretty much hits this whole flower bed, and then it's very, very filtered all the way throughout the day until the very last part of the day. It gets a little bit more sun right in the front area of this flower bed. So it's kind of difficult because it does get a little bit warm up on this side. So I've kind of positioned my plants, I think, to where they'll do well. Now the Bloodgood maple, if you are familiar with Japanese maples, you might think I'm crazy for putting it right here because the tag does say it grows 18 feet tall by 18 feet wide. I've never seen a Japanese maple get that big in our area. They're more of an accent plant. That's how we use them here because they just don't grow as quickly. They don't grow as big. We're very high alkaline. I think they tend to like more acidic soil. So we just kind of pamper them along a little bit and love them because of how beautiful they are. And I'll pretty much do anything to have them in my garden. But I know I can put it in this spot and it'll be okay. I can keep it trimmed to shape the way I want it to, and it will never overtake this space. The next layer down is this gorgeous ferny elderberry. So this is called Lemony Lace. I absolutely love this elderberry. They're a native. They're like the black lace elderberry, if you're familiar with that one. It looks much the same, except black lace has very, very dark foliage, more like this right here. So I thought having this chartreuse green against this red here would just be really pretty. Now these grow about 3 to 5 feet tall and wide. So I have 4 of them scattered around here. I thought I would maybe try to keep them a little bit more on the 3 to 4 foot side of things. They do bloom on new wood, so they bloom kind of clusters of white blooms in early spring. So you want to make sure to wait to prune them until after they're done blooming so that you don't mess up next year's bloom. They're a zone 3 through 7, and they like an area that gets a little bit of protection because their leaves are so finely cut. There's a lot of areas that you can lose water and they can tend to burn in that hot afternoon sun, kind of the same as our Japanese maples here. So you want to put them in an area, especially if you have really intense heat and really intense sun, that they can get just a little bit of morning sun and then they have protection for the rest of the day. So I think that this is going to be a great spot. I think they'll really do well in this area. They do get berries as well. They're not edible per se. I mean, they're kind of like a mealy flesh with a big seed, but if you leave those berries on, they turn really pretty red in the fall for winter time. And then if we step down one more, we've got the Wildberry Heuchera. Now the reason I put this one up here, well, you can see the beautiful color. So we've got red, chartreuse, red, and then chartreuse with the hosta. This is just such a striking heuchera. They throw up these beautiful bloom stalks right here. They grow about 10 to 14 inches tall, taller if you count the bloom stalks. And I think that they'll do good up here because these heucheras can handle both sun and shade. And because they get that late afternoon hot sun, I think they'll handle that pretty well. And the rain is starting to pour, so we're gonna take a little bit of a break and then I'll tell you about the last plant. Okay, so it looks like we've had a little bit of break in the rain, so I do wanna show you the last plant and then we'll get them all in the ground. And the last one is right back here, and I'm really excited for this one. This is called a Queen of Hearts. Brunnera is how we say it here. I've heard it Brunnera as well. But they're just a beautiful shade-loving perennial. The Queen of Hearts variety will actually be available next year, so I'm able to trial it this year and show you guys how it does in our garden. But I've always liked Brunnera because of their beautiful heart-shaped leaves. I love the silver overlay over this beautiful green. And they do really well here. They tend to really like fill in and broaden out. Like these grow about 16 to 18 inches tall, but they'll spread like 26 to 36 or so inches. I did space them fairly close because I want it to be a really dense kind of sea of Brunnera back here. They are a zone 3 through 8, so incredibly winter hardy. And the reason why I put them on the back side of this, I guess technically there's no back side, but I put them on this side because this is the side that only gets morning sun. And Brunnera prefer to either be in a full shade to very part sun situation. They don't like any hot afternoon sun. They struggle in that. So I figured they'd do really well back here, kind of protected from that afternoon sun, but they'll get some morning. Now they do bloom. You can see up here they get these really cute blue forget-me-not looking blooms like mid to late spring. But even if nothing bloomed in this area, I think all of the leaf shape and color and structures are, I think they're just all gorgeous together. So now let's plant it and see how it looks. Got it all planted and I think it turned out so beautiful. The digging was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be underneath these pine trees. The only issue that I had was right in between them with the Japanese maple. I couldn't dig quite deep enough. I can dig as wide as I want, but I ran into a root about like this size, and I usually will only cut roots if they're really small. So I happened to have a second Japanese maple. That is very rare for me, but I was going to put a smaller one in a container up in our gazebo. So I just flip-flopped the two and swapped out the bigger one for the smaller one. And it was easy to plant in that hole right there. So I think everything should be fine. And you can see the bigger one, it's sitting in our gazebo back behind there. So I'll get that potted up in the container here soon. But I think everything's gonna fill in gorgeous. You can see the last drip line. This whole area is irrigated with brown drip tubing that's already in place. So there's a brown drip tube that runs by every single one of these plants. And I left a little area on purpose. Even though we are gonna do a pathway, I wanted room to do little annuals just in case we decide to do that. And I can do that all the way around. So I've got space here. I left a little space along the grass here. So anyway, I'm just excited to see this area be a little bit more permanent, something that I can watch grow and fill in throughout the years. And that'll be really fun just to see that happening and get to show you guys the progress as we go. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope it gave you some ideas on things to look for when you're down at the garden center. If you're redoing areas, really look for different structures of foliage and colors and things like that. And that way you'll have a gorgeous show all season long. Thank you guys so much again, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.